Hi Flosstube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin. I am Stitch, Read, Repeat here on YouTube. If this is your first time finding me, welcome. This is a channel about cross stitch. If you're coming back, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of your kind comments, the shares that you've been giving me. I was flabbergasted recently. I was recognized in person at a cross stitch store. Thank you to all of you for being so kind and welcoming, and welcome to this little section of the internet. I had a really big surprise since my last video. Vanna Pfeiffer actually called me out and or shouted me out, and I was tickled. I mean, I love Vanna. I've loved Vanna for a long time. She's a wonderful addition to our community. I consider her one of the premier in terms of finishing and stitching. She's amazing, and she's a really good person. So Vanna, thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you that might have come by because of Vanna. So welcome. This week, or this month, or this episode, let's say, it's been a little while since I was last here. Lots have gone on since then, but I've got, let's see, 2 FFOs to share with you. I have one in person, and I just got a picture of another one. I've got a couple whips, works in progress, and a couple new starts that have become works in progress. And then we've got a giveaway winner to announce. I've made some purchases, had some gifts, got plans, and then a lot of book talk at the end. I know some of you really enjoy that. I always keep that at the end of the episode, so settle in for a little while and let's get going. So my first finish, my first fully finished item was something that I did as part of a exchange that Heather over on Instagram hosts. She's taking a break now until the end of the year, so hopefully in 2025 she'll come back, but I was able to send this off and the recipient has received it, so I'm going to show you a picture here. This is Modern Folk Embroidery's The First Flowers. I stitched this on a 36 count Tyco linen was the name. It's by Picture This Plus, and I used Classic Colored Works Bejeweled was the color. So I found this board. I finished it on this board with the chenille trim from Lady Creates around the edge. The recipient seemed to really enjoy it, and I had fun doing it. So it's nice that that's in its new home. I filed that chart away, and I plan to stitch it for myself one day too. It was really a nice piece. It was a small piece. A lot of those pieces are so large, but this one was manageable and I enjoyed it. My other FFOs that I have, fully finished objects, came from a class that I took with the Delaware Valley Historic Sampler Guild here in Delaware. That's where I live. We have members all over the country, but we meet in person 6 times a year. And this was a class with Teresa's Primitive Treasures. And so I made this really cute little box that has this little sheep in the inside. So when I went to the class, all I had done was the stitching, and so we learned how to put it on the fabric. We painted and distressed the box, mounted it inside, and then a first for me, we also did some wool applique and made a little pin cushion. So mine is fairly primitive, but I did some wool applique. I'm happy with how it turned out. It was fun. I'd never done that before. I don't know if it's going to be a new hobby of mine, but we did that on this linen, and we added the little trim, and we wax stained the box, paper mache lid this is in. So it makes a cute little decor piece, something fun, and I'm always game to learn a new skill. So those were my fully finishes for this episode, for this time. Really fun to do, and I like I said, I enjoy classes because it's easier for me to sit with somebody, watch them do it, and then do it myself. So that's been a nice part of joining this guild, is I've learned some new skills. So now on to works in progress. I have a couple new starts. Like I said, my birthday was at the end of September, and I started a new chart for my birthday. I celebrate Christmas all the time. I love Christmas. I could stitch Christmas all year round, and typically I have something that I'm working on. So I chose out of my stash a chart from Chessie and Me, and this is Scarlett's Christmas Sampler. So I bought the chart at a shop in Alabama. It came with the linen, but no floss. Now the picture is stitched with the limited edition Gentle Arts threads, but she also provided regular Gentle Arts thread, so that's what I ended up buying. this chart gave me a little bit of a doozy this week. I had taken a picture to share on Instagram and realized something's off. I don't know what it is. And I looked at it and I looked at it and I realized that I had made a big mistake in counting, you know. And so I did some frogging this morning, ripping out those stitches. And so this is where we're at. Still really happy with this progress. There's specialty stitches in this piece. So the roof line of the house, those are all Smyrna crosses. And then these dark leaves on the vine are all Smyrna crosses. There'll be some satin stitch and additional other fancy things going on, but I think it's cute. I need to figure out the variegation on the floss that's used to fill in the house. It's very drastic, kind of from a gray to a red, and I don't want it to be too blotchy. So one of the people that follow me on Instagram said she likes to put all of her floss, kind of pull out the strands and mix them up so it's truly random. I don't know if I'll do that or if I'll just kind of pick and choose where I stitch and when I stitch. Part of my problem, I think, is that I had outlined some aspects like this flower with that floss. And so the flower is very red, but the stitching above it that I did was very gray. And I don't like how it looks. So I think I might frog that too and try to make it blend a little bit better and with the red around the flower, just so that it's looks more cohesive and kind of like an old house that's the paint's starting to chip off. So anyway, this is really pretty. I made it all the way down to the bottom. There's one more stitch that kind of goes around that dark green, and this is about all the way across. So this is an 8x8 Q snap. It's going to fit right in there. And yeah, it's pretty. I like it a lot. I've actually never stitched one of Chessie and me's charts, but I think, you know, I know I have a few in my stash, so I'll be working some more on these. Linda's a great designer, and I like her use of specialty stitches. So that's Scarlett's Christmas Sampler by Chessie and me. Another work in progress that I had this week was the continuation. I work on it kind of little by little. This was a teaching class, or a class that I took that was taught by Jackie Duplessis for our guild back in April. It's called the Cherry Berry Sewing Roll. So all of those are stitched over one, and then you form it into this sewing roll. I have a lot of stitching left to do before I can do that, but I got a little bit more progress, and I've got a thread on my needle, so you're just going to have to tolerate that. But here it is. So you can see it's very small. There we go. So this time I added the Z's and the S's. Basically, I kind of color complete. So I get some silk on my needle and I just fill in where I can as it makes sense to count. It's been fun to work on. The blue, that light blue, really does ghost on this fabric. It's especially blown out maybe in this light, but it's very, very light. I don't know the names of these flosses. Jackie just included them numbered. So it's just, you know, color number 1, number 2, number 3. So I couldn't tell you exactly what the floss colors are, but they're all silks, and it's a 32 count, and it's 1/1. Another chart that I've been working on, and it's actually at work, so I'm going to have to include a picture of my latest update. It's from Teresa Kogut. It's called Let Love Rain, and I am stitching just one of the floral bands of her large sampler, and I'm putting it on a purple fabric from number 12 Stitch Co. The color is called Iced Violet. I'm using all of Teresa's called for, so it's mostly DMC with a few weeks flosses thrown in. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm stitching it 1/2 on a 36 count fabric, and when it's done, my plan is to make it into a drum. So I'll put a picture here if I haven't already, so you can see what that's looking like. It's amazing what, you know, 40 minutes at lunch every day can get you on a project, and it's been fun to watch that one come to life. My last chart was a new start. It's actually for a Christmas gift. I don't think my mom watches these videos, though I found out this week my dad does. But Mom, if you're watching, look away. But this is from Erin Elizabeth, and it's the Canadian flag chart. So my mom is Canadian. She's been in the States now, I think, longer than she lived in Canada, but she still loves to claim her Canadian heritage. So I'm doing this on a 30, I believe it's a 32 count smoky white fabric with DMC 321. And this is where I got to. So this band is almost done. I've got just a little bit left down here, and then starting on that maple leaf in the middle. So it's been fun to work on doing this 2/2. I've got some other things to work on right now, so I kind of tucked this away, but I do plan to give this for Christmas. So need to keep going. It's been a fun one to work on. I've never stitched one of Erin Elizabeth's charts, but it's been an enjoyable process, and I find that her charts are very easy to read and yeah, pretty straightforward. So those are all of my works in progress. You know, it's funny, I look back at the time since I last filmed and I think I did a lot, and then I put it all out to film and I go, that's all I stitched on. But lately, for whatever reason, which I'm grateful for, I've picked up a project and I've wanted to keep stitching on it. I don't bounce around a lot. And that's something that I wanted to ask you all. Do you like seeing a lot of projects in a video, or do you mind seeing just a couple that have some more significant progress on them? I know that for myself, in the life stage that I'm in, I have a 3-year-old child, I work full time, you know, obligations of life. I don't have as much stitching time as others do, and I know that those days might come for me. But in the time that I do have, I want to enjoy what I'm stitching, and if I pick up a project and I'm really loving it, I tend to just stick with it. I have a ton of whips. I think a lot of us do. They'll be finished when they're finished, but I'm curious what you like to watch. Do you like to see just a little bit of progress so you can see a lot of examples, or do you like to see a lot of progress and watch somebody talk about how they've made progress on their chart? So let me know. Ooh, exciting. So next, I did a giveaway last episode. I was giving away this 2001, this oldie, just cross stitch. Is it just cross stitch, the 2001 special ornament issue. There's some good ones in here. There's a chart from the Prairie Schooler, I think. There's a chart in here from Birds of a Feather. Just fun to look through. You might not like all of the ornaments. They say that there's 75 in here. I might like, I don't know, 8 or 10 of them, but still 8 or 10 in an old magazine, I'll take it. So I had actually accidentally purchased 2 of these at a sale. I was going to give one of them away to you, and I'll put the winner on the screen here, but it's Diane Wiswall 9843. So Diane, I've also commented on your comment. If you could send me an email, it's stitchreadrepeat@gmail.com. I'll get this mailed out to you, and you'll have it before the end of October so that we can maybe stitch on an ornament or 2 before the end of the year. So yeah, congratulations, Diane, and thank you all for your sweet comments. Lots of lovers of sidewalk sales, which me too. Purchases. Is there ever going to be a month that I don't buy something? I thought that to myself today. I said, you're buying more than you're stitching. And we joke that they're 2 different hobbies. But there's just so much good stuff. There's so much good stuff. So first of all, if you've been here, you know I love Stephanie over at Lindy Stitches. I love her as a person. She runs a great business. I like her designs. I love her little shop that she has. It's not little. She has a lot of stuff in her shop. But I especially love her scissor collection. She finds the most fun scissors, quirky stuff you don't see everywhere. I mean, while I would love to have a high dollar pair, Kohanas feel very fancy. Like, that would be really fun. I also enjoy kind of the quirky, neat stuff. So when she had put these on her website and she talked about them in one of her videos, I thought, let me give those a try. So these scissors are called the Storklets, and they are the tiniest little scissors. I don't even know the best way to show you. So for example, here. I will take one of my purchases. This is the new Hands-On Design Summer House Stitchworks Between Friends book, right? The fall one. I purchased this. So I'm going to use the back because it's white. So here's the book. the full book. It's the regular size of a chart. Here's the scissors. They're so tiny. They're so tiny and they're cute. They're little birds. They fit my fingers. I kind of have big fingers, so that's my only downfall, is that the holes aren't super big. But for as cute as these are, I mean, I got the gold. She's got like every color. Go get yourself some scissors. If you need an excuse, tell them that Caitlin sent you. I just think these are so fun. So since I showed it, I did purchase this Between Friends, the fall sampling between Kathy and Beth. I love this idea of them doing collaborative designs and collaborative books. Even if you don't stitch these projects, the way that they've outlined, or the way that they've laid out these books, they're just beautiful. It's like a kind of like a upscale magazine. They talk about, there's really clear finishing instructions, there's stitch diagrams. But the project that sold me, I'm trying to find a picture. This will work. Is this pumpkin roll right here. I just think this is so fun. So it's a needle roll. It's got these pumpkins, and Kathy designed a little verse, and then they show you how to make a bolster pillow to fit inside. I just love the design. I think it's so pretty. And that was actually what made me buy the book. Now, granted, I love most of the projects inside, and I will probably stitch them all at some point. But this was the one. This was the one that sold me. And when I look at the finishing instructions on the inside with the pictures, I feel like I could probably fully finish that myself. Which empowers me, makes me feel like, oh, okay, not only can I cross stitch, but maybe I could make something with my cross stitch. So I appreciate the work that they put into these books. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 6 or 7 charts in here, I think. They have a sampler for each season. But yeah, I would recommend this book if you haven't already picked it up. It's a fun one. I got my September fabric of the month from Millennial Fabrics. So I've been in this fabric club with Millennial Fabrics. And September's fabric color is called Lady Frankenstein. Now, if you have been here before, you know that this fabric club kind of pushes me out of my comfort zone. The fabrics are bright, they're exciting. I asked Sarah, the owner of the company, I said, will there be any neutrals? And she said, we really try to keep it as unique as possible, so it's going to be a lot of colors. And I said, okay. I said I could do this. So this color, like I said, Lady Frankenstein, I'm going to put it on this board so you can see the white next to it. But it's a green. It's a very lime green. That's probably about right. I might try to do a Christmas chart on this just to see, like a little ornament, maybe from the magazine. I'm not sure if it's maybe too green. Maybe I'll do a floss toss and put it on Instagram. But it's a fun color. It's a really fun color. This feels more manageable to me for whatever reason than, it's got some modeling in it, which I like. But the other color was like a sherbet orange and a bright pink or purple. This green feels a little more manageable. So we'll see what I come up with. But it's something fun to have in my stash. And again, I like supporting a small business. And Sarah does a really nice job of communicating and getting things shipped out on time. And the fabric is a really nice quality. So if you're in the market for a fabric of the month, I would recommend her. She's got a Facebook page that she talks more about her clubs and her shop. So check that out. So like I said, my birthday was the end of September, and on my birthday, actually, it was a Saturday, I was able to stop at Stitches Unlimited, which is a local needlework shop in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I found this chart. It's called, by Threadwork Primitives. It's called Stroll Around the Garden. So I thought this was nice. Kind of, it's not huge. It's 109 by 108, so almost a square. And it uses a mix of Weeks Dye Works, Classic Color Works, and Gentle Arts. So I actually was able to kit this up while I was at the shop. And I'd like to start this soon. I just think it's pretty. feels manageable to me, and something fun for my birthday. They do a punch card where you get a punch for every so many dollars you spend, and when your card's full you get 10% off. So I had a full card, so I got a bonus discount for my birthday. I mean, you can't beat that. And I did find some fabric. It's called Winter White by Seraphim. I'm not going to take it out of the plastic, but it's a 36 count. It's kind of a nice warm neutral, and I thought that it would be a nice choice for that chart. So once I get this started, you'll of course see the progress, but it was fun to shop. I forgot that it was the same day. They do a Stitching in the Barn event quarterly, I think. I forgot that it was the same day as my birthday. So when I got there, the shop was packed. But luckily, by the time I looked around and looked at everything, most of the stitchers had made it through the line and were going back to the barn. So I didn't have to worry too much. And then, oh, one other thing that I purchased, I called it a birthday gift to myself. It might have just been an impulse buy. Chantel 141 had done an ornament mystery box this year. Now, apparently she's done them before. I don't remember that, but I also wouldn't be surprised if I just put it out of my head, because I guess in years past, it's only been the finishing boards. Whereas this year, she did 5 patterns and 5 boards that coordinate. So she had charts in her box from Robin Pickens, Annie B's Folk Art, Teresa Kogut, Plum Street Samplers, and Hands On Design. And I ordered the box the beginning of September, and I got it last night in the mail. And when I opened it, when I tell you, I have not had a mystery box that I have loved every aspect of. I don't know if ever. And I am so excited about every project in this box. I don't know if the charts will ever be released to the general public. I'm not sure what the negotiation there was, so I'm not going to do an unboxing or anything on my video, but you will see them as I stitch them. I was talking to a stitcher today, and I said, for me it's so hard because I love the act of the stitching, but then to see how I'm going to finish it is where I struggle. And so to be able to say, here, Kathy stitched this from Hands On Design. She stitched this chart and she finished it exactly like this. And she tells you the paint she used, the colors she used, the floss she used, the ribbons she used, so I can completely replicate this if I wanted to. It feels so much more accessible to me. So Chantel, thank you for putting that together. The designers did an awesome job. Designers, thank you. I'm really excited. I think I'm going to start with Kathy's from Hands On Design, just because it's all charted in DMC, and I'm fairly certain I have every color she called for. And then, but I think my favorite chart from the pack was from Plum Street. So I need to get some of her flosses. I think I've got a perfect fabric to use, and you'll see those as I go. Maybe even hang one on my Christmas tree this year. So was really excited about that. A little gift to myself. And if you missed out this year, I would watch for it next year, because it was really, for what I paid, it was very reasonable, and I enjoyed the box. So, and then, ooh, okay, so gifts. It was my birthday. I had a few friends send me a few things. I got a gift card from from Stephanie, or not from Stephanie, but to Stephanie's shop, Lindy Stitches. So I probably gonna buy some floss from her, because she's got a great deal where you buy, I think, 5 flosses and you get 1 free. So I try to buy my floss from her when I can. And now I've got a little money to spend there. So I have that for her birthday gift. My good friend Ruth, she's a stitcher here in Delaware. She has a Flosstube as well, Spectrum Farms. She sent me a really generous gift. She makes these giant tomatoes, similar to the ones that were sold at StitchCon, if you saw all those stories this summer. She sent me a tomato, which I was so grateful for. So Ruth, thank you so much. And she also picked out this really clever chart from My Big Toe, and it's called Quoth the Stitcher. It says, "Quoth the Stitcher, I need more." So, of course, it's a play on says the raven, you know, nevermore. But I love this chart. I think it would be really funny to put it in my office at work. I started decorating with some cross stitch, and people are looking at it, but they're not asking questions yet. So I've been at my job now for about 6 weeks, and we'll see if anybody ever gets up the nerve to ask, but maybe if I hang this on the wall, they will. So she sent me this chart, she sent me the floss, and now I get to put it on a fabric. And yeah, I'm excited. It's a fun chart. I've never seen this one, and so Ruth, thank you. And then it's not really a birthday gift, but it was a gift in a sense. So in the same exchange where I made the Modern Folk embroidery piece, I was gifted from Tabitha. She sent me a beautifully made drum, and it's a chart from Heartstring Samplery that I've always wanted to stitch. It's in my stash. I've never stitched it, and she stitched it and made it a drum. So I mean, it's like the best of both worlds, right? It's something you love. It's already done. I can display it. So Tabitha, thank you. I'll put a picture here so you all can see it if you didn't see it on Instagram. I took it to work. It sits on my desk and I look at it every day. So plans. Well, I've got some Christmas stitching to keep working on. Try to get that wrapped up. And then I had talked last time, so our Sampler Guild has a exchange that we do every December. I've not participated in one before, but I'm very excited. We have to stitch something sampler-esque. Cannot be a holiday theme. We have to include the initials of the guild, the year, and our initials on the final piece, and then it has to be fully finished. So I have my chart picked out. I bought the fabric and the flosses. I need to get a couple of the extra things for finishing, but that's going to be high on my priority, just so I can make sure it's done in plenty of time for our meeting in December. I've seen pictures of what other members have done, and I hope that I can step up my game enough to match what they're doing. And then I would like to actually pull out a old work in progress I have from Heartstring Samplery. It's one of her Sunday, what did she call them? Sunday songs or something. She did a whole series of lyrics from hymns, and I have A Mighty Fortress started, very tiny start, and I'd like to work on that because I'm very excited to say that next month in November, I will actually be going to the attic for a retreat, and I'm so excited. The Autumn of Abundance will be in November, and I got a spot at that retreat, and the designers there will be Chessie and me, Linda, Teresa Kogut, and Beth Twist from Heartstring Samplery. So not only will they be there as designers for cross stitch, but Teresa's going to teach a punch needle class, which I've never done, and I'm really excited to learn. And then Beth's husband Matt is bringing, my understanding is, something from his wood shop. So I'm just tickled that I have this opportunity, that I get to go to the attic. It's kind of been a bucket list since I started stitching and heard about it, and I'm just really excited to meet other stitchers. Be in Phoenix in November. That sounds really nice. And yeah, just, you know, spread my stitchy wings a little bit further. So if you're going to be there, let me know. I haven't really talked about it on Flosstube or Instagram yet because it still doesn't really feel real. But I just got an email from Southwest saying your flight is confirmed, so I better figure out what I'm doing. But very excited for that opportunity and look forward to telling you all about it when I get back. So that's all of my stitching for today. Let's see. I probably will not be back until the middle of November, so let me get through that time at the attic and back home and unpacked and rested up and get all my thoughts put together, and then I'll be right back on here. So it will be sometime between, say, November 11th and Thanksgiving. I would like to say it's going to be that weekend after I'm at the attic. I'm at the attic the second weekend in November, I think, but we'll see. It'll be before Thanksgiving, but it'll be after my weekend at the attic, so take from that what you will. And yeah, I'll fill you all in then, and hopefully have lots of stitching progress to show you. If you haven't already, I encourage you to like and subscribe, and you'll hear from me when I'm back. Thank you again for all of your sweet comments, and if you came just for stitching, have a great rest of your day. If you're still here for some book talk, here we are. I've got so much to talk about. I've read a ton, and I don't know, I think it's because when I try to wind down at night, I read. I find that if I'm trying to stitch and really focus and under a bright light, it's like my brain doesn't want to shut off. So at some point I have to say, okay, no more stitching. Now you can read for an hour. So I get a lot of reading done. I also listen to audiobooks in the car, so I can read a lot then too. So I've got a few to tell you about. It's going to be kind of a mad dash of what I've read, and then a little bit about what I will be reading. So first one, I'll put a picture up on the screen, was called Out on a Limb. It's by Hannah Bonham Young. It's a contemporary romance, fairly spicy, so watch out for that. But it's interesting. The main character has, she lives with a disability, and she meets a gentleman who also lives with a disability. And so there is pregnancy in the book, like throughout the entire book. It's actually talked about on the back cover, so that's not a spoiler. Kind of a whoops situation, and so you go through this romance with a pregnancy thrown in. That was interesting to me. But I like this author. I think she writes really well, and I like how she's so diverse in what she casts in her books. So that was a good read. I read this book, 1000 White Women, by Jim Fergus. This was recommended to me by my friend Robin. I've had this book on my bookshelf for a long time, and I always looked at, it's 400 pages or something, and thought, next time. It's interesting. There's a lot of very interesting reviews of this on Goodreads. People take offense at a gentleman trying to write as if he was a woman in the pioneer days, I guess. I think you have to take this book with a grain of salt. If you can kind of get lost in the story and put aside the fact that it was written by a man, the premise is really interesting. So apparently it really happened that there was a time, and I don't want to butcher this, but basically the Cheyenne people had met with the U.S. government and had suggested that the U.S. government could provide them with 1,000 white women. And so the idea being that the government would send 1,000 white women to be the brides of Cheyenne warriors or Cheyenne people, I guess, not all warriors. And in this book, that's what really happened. So of course, in real life, the government threw a fit and thought, how dare you ask? And look into this more, because I didn't do that very good justice. But for what it is, it's really interesting. Made me really think about what it might have been like to live during this time. As a little girl, I loved Little House on the Prairie, thinking about pioneer times. Growing up in Nebraska, we learned all about the Oregon Trail. We're so fortunate to be at the time and place where we are. So this was a good book. I think if you like history and you can kind of suspend reality and look at things through a different lens, you might enjoy it as well. Another book that I read was suggested to me by a different stitcher. Thank you, Jean. I'll put a picture here. It's the first in a series. It's called Cruel World. It's by Monica Ferris. It's part of like a cozy mystery series all about needlecraft. The main character, her sister owns a shop that sells yarn and fibers, needlepoint and cross stitch. And of course things happen and you've got to figure out who did it. And it was cute. It was good. It was written, I think, in 99. And so, the main character's sister had a computer, but it was very kind of rudimentary. Think back to 99 and what we had at that point. There were no cell phones. People talked about having to look up directions on a map to get somewhere. There was no GPS. I remember those days, but I wasn't an adult in those times, so it was kind of fun to read that book, and I enjoyed it a lot. Another one that I read, I'll put a picture. It's called The Water Cure. It's by Sophie McIntosh. I had read about this on a blog somewhere quite a while ago. It's dystopian, which is another genre I really enjoy. Again, suspending reality. If I can do that in my reading life, I enjoy that. Tells a story of 3 girls who live on this island with their parents. And it seems like, the rest of the world is a problem. There's some kind of sickness. The men are causing the women to become very ill. And so this family has escaped to this island, and they've doomsdayed themselves into this home. And that's all we really know. And come to find out, maybe things aren't all what they seem. There's it's written in a very interesting way. It's broken up into 3 sections. Each chapter is told from the point of view of a different character. And by the end of it, your head is left spinning like, whoa, how did I miss that? What about this? I really enjoyed it. And if you enjoy dystopian books, you might enjoy this one too. Another book that I read that I loved, nonfiction, was written by Sharon McMahon, and it's called The Small and the Mighty. I'll put a picture on the screen. I am a governor. If you are on Instagram, you might know what that means. Sharon kind of touts herself as America's history teacher. She started talking on Instagram, I believe, during the pandemic, and tries to present a fairly neutral understanding of politics and history. And I like her point of view. I like how she approaches things. She's interviewed a lot of high-profile folks. She asks them hard and silly questions, you know, and she's always trying to show you both sides of the coin so that you can maybe make your own decisions or make your own opinions. But she wrote this book, The Small and the Mighty, about 12 people who were just average people who did big things in our history. And I listened to the audiobook, so she read her own book, and that was really fun to listen to her read these stories. You know, she writes like she talks, so lots of kind of sidebars thrown in. For some that can be off-putting. For me, it was enjoyable kind of having listened to her for so long. I couldn't make it to her book tour, but she was recently on book tour. I think she's wrapping up now. I enjoyed this one a lot and learned something about a number of aspects of our history that I had never learned before. Including, here's a fun fact I just remembered because I had to tell my dad this story. The Sears catalog, you know, back when that started, mail order was a thing. The trains were moving, so that made it so that folks could order things and they could arrive fairly quickly. Sears and Roebuck, they decided to make their catalog just a little bit smaller than all of the other mail order catalogs that were out there, because the thought was, you know, Susie out in Nebraska is getting all kinds of mail order catalogs, and so it would make sense that she would stack them on her table and she would stack them with the smallest one on top. So they made theirs the smallest in terms of paper size so that it would always be at the top of her pile, and that when she needed to buy something, she would just, you know, by nature, grab the top one, see if they had it, and order. And I thought that was so clever and such a fun little factoid. So if you're ever on Jeopardy, there you go. And then my last one that I read, I've read a lot of really good books lately, a memoir by a woman who I so dearly love, Ina Garten. Again, I have a lot of weird interests. I grew up watching Ina on the Food Network. I think she is so fun, and learning more about her life over the years has just been eye-opening to me. Ina wrote a book called Be Ready When the Luck Happens. It's a memoir of her life, mostly from when she meets her husband, Jeffrey, on. Ina used to work in the White House, writing nuclear policy memos, and decided one day on a whim to buy a novelty food shop called the Barefoot Contessa in the Hamptons. And the rest, as we know it, is history. So Ina is an incredible woman. She had a lot of really good things to say in her novel. She made me think about a lot of aspects of my own life, even though she was talking about herself. I really enjoyed her book, and if you are at all interested in her, want to read about what it's like to write cookbooks, or, you know, what it's like to travel around France for 4 months in the 70s, living in a tent. She did that too. I mean, it's incredible. She is a really neat person, and I really enjoyed her memoir. So that's what I've read, and real quick, what I am reading and plan to read. So I am currently listening to a book called Pink Slime. It's by Fernanda Trias. It's been, translated, and so I'm listening to the audiobook in English. It's another kind of dystopian, post-apocalyptic. There's this algae that's causing people to be sick, and so it's taking place, I'm not very far in, but it seems like it's taking place while there's still concerns about the algae, and some people are fine and some people are very sick, and the main character is kind of navigating both of those worlds. I had read again about it on a blog, and so far so good. I'm enjoying it. I just also picked up this book by Wenyan Liu. It's called The Funeral Crier. And so it talks about in rural China, contemporary rural China, a woman whose job is to be the funeral crier and the stigma that comes with that. And it's a fiction novel, but I look forward to learning more about that custom and that reality for folks if it still happens in rural China. Book club this month is reading another translated novel. It got a lot of hype during COVID, and it's called Fresh Water for Flowers. It's by Valerie Perrin, and I think the novel takes place, let's see, it doesn't take place during COVID. Everybody liked reading it during COVID, but it looks like the last line of the synopsis says, "It becomes clear that Julian's inexplicable gesture is intertwined with Violet's own complicated past." So maybe a little mystery, a little, see what happens kind of thing. I look forward to reading it. I enjoy this book club. It's hosted by a local bookshop here in Wilmington, and she always picks things that I've never read. Well, mostly picks things I've never read and kind of pushes me outside of my box, and I appreciate that. And then, lastly, this is high on my list. I think once I finish The Funeral Crier and Fresh Water for Flowers, I'm finally going to pick up By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult. I saw her the day before my birthday, and it was incredible. I got to take a picture with her, which was even cooler. Told her that I've been reading her since 2007. She loved that. And anyway, this talks about the possibility that Shakespeare's works were not written by Shakespeare, but instead written by a woman named Amelia Bassano. That is a rabbit trail that I didn't know I wanted to go down, and holy cow, the talk was fascinating. I have more research I want to do myself, but she puts Amelia's story next to a modern day female writer, a fictional writer, who was trying to get a play published on Broadway or developed on Broadway, whatever the right word for that is, produced maybe, and how it's still very much a man's world. And Jodi said this book feels deeply personal to her. She says that if she couldn't write any more books in her life, she would be happy, that this one is really the end all for her. But she does plan to write another book that will be released in 2026, which will be 25 years after 9/11. And it's based on 9/11 and kind of a interesting thing that she heard about post 9/11. If you haven't read anything Jodi's written, she tries to write about contemporary topics from a different angle. So she's not going to write about, was 9/11 a conspiracy, or, the sad reality of how many people lost their lives that day. But she will approach 9/11 from the outside, from a way that you maybe never would have thought, and that makes you think about it. So anyway, if you haven't read any of her books, I highly recommend. I have every one she's ever written. If you need a recommendation, let me know. But I'm excited to read this one. Did you make it through all of those? I've heard from a lot of you that you like the book recommendations. I enjoy talking about books. If you can't tell, I've read all my life, and I worked in a library for about a year, and that was so fun because I got to do this for a job. But I enjoy sharing that with you. So again, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being so kind. Continue to be kind to folks. Continue to, do what you can for those around you. If you're digging through all of the stuff that's come with the hurricanes the past couple weeks, I'm thinking about you. And, if there's anything that I can do from afar, do let me know. There's really no words. Just know that I'm thinking about you. So until I see you in November, I hope that you're well. I hope that you stay well. If you celebrate Halloween, have fun. I celebrate Halloween by buying myself some candy, so that's what I'm doing. My daughter too. So anyway, take care and happy stitching.